before we start?
Yes, sir.
Oh, never mind. I'm gonna start it.
Before we came to America, we were living in the east by the Nile River, living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
It's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad said 6 words to us, and these were the 6 most powerful words that he spoke. He said, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own. The Caucasians who brought our fathers into slavery desired to take us away from our own people, our own culture, our own religion, our own God, our own language. So we have grown up in America away from our own mind, away from our own selves, and so we have been actually indoctrinated with an alien mentality.
10,000 fearless men. Because we're going to have to challenge the things that are destroying our community. So this ain't no punk time. This ain't no temple time, mosque time, or church time. All the singing and shouting and preaching is over. Get in them streets now. Block by block. We're going to have to clean it up. The airwaves is not enough. The television screen is not enough. You got to put boots on the ground who are trained and are willing to make the sacrifice of life itself to see our community made a decent place to live.
Attention. Drill.
Soldiering is a part of the Nation of Islam, and it readies all of us to obey the commands of God. Now some will ask, well, why military drill? Because this is what produces the camaraderie.
Facebook and Instagram thought that they could ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
But in reality, they can't, because he already lives in us and millions of others.
قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين
اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Assalamu alaikum, family, and thank you for joining us to WHID-FM, where we hear the stories from our various guests about what Islam has done for them. And in this day and time, that is a critical question. So what we want to do on this Sunday, December 28th, is to introduce our guest that we have for tonight, who is Brother Harold. Brother Harold started attending the regular mosque meetings under the leadership of Brother Emeritus Student Minister Abdul Kareem Muhammad, may Allah be well pleased. He officially became a registered member in Muhammad Mosque number 7 in the mid-80s. His first assignment as a student officer was a squad leader in the late 1900s. The student captain at that time was Brother Student Assistant Supreme Captain Abdul Aziz Muhammad, and the student minister was Brother Abdul Hafiz Muhammad, may Allah be pleased, who played a big part in mentoring him. He relocated in the beginning of the 90s to Atlanta, Georgia, and Mosque number 15 under, at that time, Brother Student Regional Minister Van Muhammad. Around 1995, under Brother Student Regional Minister Jamil Muhammad, he was then reassigned to assist the Augusta, Georgia study group as a student coordinator, where is his mother's lineage from Augusta and Savannah. One of the highlights there is when they were able to set up a study circle in Sandersville, Georgia. He invited Brother Abdul Rahman and Brother Lucius Bayer to speak, and both accepted. And around 2000, Brother Harold was reassigned under his sister, student minister, Ava Muhammad, to get set up in Athens, Georgia. They were blessed to take it from a study circle to obtain study group status. Currently, he was assigned to go set up the shop in Cobb County, Georgia, which had a study circle and now has become Osto Study Group. So we would like to welcome Brother Harold onto the show tonight. Assalamu alaikum, sir. I think you're on mute. Can't hear you. Maybe. Let's see. Try now. I think the audio we're not able to hear. I see your screen, but the audio isn't coming through. What we can do is try to log out and then log back in and make sure the audio is checked. But family, while Brother Harold is doing that and we're waiting for him to come back on, we do apologize for Brother Bilal. He was supposed to be on the show tonight, but he had to work. So we know things happen, but we will make sure that we do our best to have Brother Bilal back on in the future, because we know we definitely want to hear his story about what Islam has done for him, especially since being a member of the Nation of Islam since 1998. Anytime we have any one of our fellow believers that have been in the nation and doing this work for at least a decade or more, it's wonderful to hear from our various guests, because that way we get to see their staying power, what inspired them, what keeps them going. And also, before Brother Harold comes back on, we want to mention, we're getting close to that time, the crowning event of Black History Month, Savior's Day, which is February 19th through the 22nd. We look forward, it's in Chicago. I'm sorry, not Chicago. We're in Detroit, Michigan this year. And we look forward to seeing all the believers. And even if you're not registered in the Nation of Islam, you're always welcome to come to Savior's Day. It is a beautiful, beautiful time. I'm telling you, I tell people all the time, it is the safest place you can be in February. Nothing but peace and love the whole weekend. We have various workshops, of course, the famous, juror competition that we have, and just, seeing our fellow believers, and it's definitely a wonderful time. So if you haven't made plans, definitely please make plans to come see us at Savior's Day in Detroit, Michigan. But I think Brother Harold is back in. So Brother Harold, can you speak? I think we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Praise.
Okay, I had to use my
Allah.
phone. I don't know what this is.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
And what we like to get into, when we have our guests on, we like to get a background of our guests because we have people that hear our teachings all across the world. So what we would like to know is, what was your first time, if you remember, hearing the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and what made you say, "I want to be a part of the Nation of Islam"?
Yeah. Twofold question. The first time that I ever heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was probably, I'm a like 70s baby, so it was probably in the 70s. And we heard on the airwaves the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who was minister over, well, at that time it was called Temple Number 7. And he talked about, as best I can recall, he talked about the pork and white folks so bad it caught me, my mom's attention. And then I had a cousin who was a registered member of the Nation of Islam from way back in the early 60s, probably 50s. But in any case, that was my first time hearing it. Now, what made me accept the first, it was probably in the early 80s. I was in school, pardon me, like junior high school, somewhere around there. And once again, talking about white folks, and the pork caught my attention. And I went out to the meeting. Again, it was called Temple Number 7 in the early 80s in New York. I heard student minister Abdul Kareem Muhammad. At that time, his name was not Kareem, Linwood X. And I heard him. I accepted. I was a little bit frightened. The captain at that time was Alpha Farrakhan. He was married to Sister Betsy Jean. And yeah, the rest is pretty much history.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Now, speaking of Islam, now you're in the Nation of Islam. You're starting to hear, the teachings, and you're starting to learn. Now, the first time you heard God was a man, how was that for you? Were you able to receive it instantly, or did it take you some time to study and get to know that to be sure?
Good question. Many years before I understood that one. My hook was the white man is the devil. But the concept even of Allah, saying Allah, and then Allah or God in the person of a man, that just, I couldn't grasp it until many years later. By the time I registered, I understood it a bit more better, but that was something that I had to wrestle with.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Now, in the Nation of Islam, and sometimes when you may be a part of something, you're learning your way, and you may be introduced to new environments. So, as a Black man coming up in the world where sometimes this world may see the only time Black men come together is to do something wrong. So, tell us, coming in as a new FOY, what was it like to see the brotherhood of the FOY, and what effect did that have on you?
That was mind-blowing, because prior to that, at that particular time, and particularly in New York, we didn't really have gangs, like they do now or in LA. But to see that many brothers, and at that point in time, my sister, we didn't even think Muslims died. We just didn't, a janaza, like, nowadays, we have 2-3 people in the same city that can do a janaza. But at that particular time, I saw these brothers, and then whenever I got to learn their brothers and sisters, pardon me, and hearing how old they were and seeing how young they looked, that was mind-blowing to me. That was mind-blowing. I was like, wow. And then I became a part of something. And on the basis of righteousness, on the basis of goodness. And so again, I embraced it. And it gave me an edge on my friends that were not in the mosque at that time, because I had knowledge of the world and then knowledge of the teachings of the mosque, of Islam. And so it catapulted me into I guess on another level.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it was awesome. It was just, I mean, I love the mosque. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was there Monday for FOI class. Well, at one point in time, we used to have it on Saturdays, but I was there for FOI class. I was there Wednesday, every Friday, every Sunday, Saturday call outs we had. And so yeah, you couldn't take me away. Now, these days, your brother skips a few of those.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, balance is key. So we definitely learning now
This
how
is true.
to have balance. My next question I want to go into. So I ask this question from time to time with believers because I was only about probably 3 at the time. So I just remember hearing the stories. But did you attend the lecture that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did at Madison Square Garden, which was called Power at Last? And if so, can you describe the environment, and just walk us through that day? What was that like if you did attend?
Wow. Yeah, I did attend. And processing at that time. And for me, obviously, processing, you don't get the opportunity to hold posts or anything like that. But the training was so thorough in New York that I could easily just fall in. So what the brothers did, lieutenant, squad leaders, what have you, they told me, here's a bunch of papers, we want you to go send. So that was my post, but I was so happy. I got to see for the first time ever Chaka Khan up close and personal, as they walked in the Madison Square Garden. It was definitely a crowd. I mean, the New York was on fire. It was just, I mean, the spirit definitely of our people. The minister, the event got the mayor's attention. And so, I mean, all over the news, power at last, power at last. And so for me personally, it was just, I forget how many papers, but it was the most papers I had ever sold up until that point in time. I know it was over 100. They just kept on giving me the papers and I kept on going out there, and there was so many people. It was definitely no one, as we're on the streets today or knocking on the doors today saying no. Everybody just took a paper. I mean, contributing dollars, I don't know what was the cost. It wasn't what it costs today, but in any case, getting donations, and I just took all of that and gave it to the squad leader or whoever was collecting money at that particular time. But it was gratifying for me because up until that point in time, I had never distributed that many Final Call newspapers, never. So it was a plus for me to do that. Obviously, the big plus was to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and just to see that many people. We couldn't even fit them inside. We had to turn back. They had what they call at that particular time another venue called the Felt Forum, and we had to put more people in there. So I was excited. I mean, as the minister says in that lecture, he said, don't leave, brothers and sisters. He said, when you go out, I'm paraphrasing, you'll be on pretty much cloud 9. And that's where I was. I was just happy to be amongst the brotherhood. I mean, you just couldn't pull me away from it.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Beautiful. Because I always ask, and I get pretty much kind of the same story, but different variations of the energy that surrounded that day. So I'm sure that was a beautiful, beautiful moment.
It
And
was.
now I'm going to kind of go into the 90s a little bit. So the late, I would say late 80s, early 90s, you start seeing the rise of hip hop where you're seeing consciousness music, and just it's just from my recollection, even though I was still pretty young, but you would hear Farrakhan, and you would hear the 5% Nation, you would hear Islam, you would hear consciousness and a little bit of music. So can you talk about how that experience was reaching out to the people with these teachings, the difference from that now when consciousness was at a pretty good amount in the hip hop community versus how it is now where the music is, I mean, in my opinion, the music is just not good at all, but the difference in the music and the connection to how we get the people.
I'll say it for you. It's kind of garbage, but
Yeah,
no,
right.
no. So back then, being that I was listening to hip hop or rap as we call it, definitely hitting the parties before I registered in the Nation of Islam, became a registered member in the Nation of Islam and a student. It evolved. When you say the 90s, one of the things that I was blessed to do at that particular time, well, actually, I just missed it. There's a movie that you probably heard of if you haven't seen it, called I believe it's called Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And we, the nation, got the contract to secure them. And of course, on the soundtrack is Public Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So in here, and I mean, they were one of the first that I can recall anyway that came out and mentioned the name Farrakhan. I mean, nobody was, you had a few positive here and there, but to mention the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's name,
Mm-hmm.
They would, to me, the first time I heard it on wax, as we used to say, or on a record song rap, was Public Enemy. Then of course, you had Big Daddy Kane, Poor Righteous Teachers, Eric B. Rakim. But in any case, that gave us, just like a high, because the music was something that many of us we can identify with, because they were speaking, unlike today, they were speaking from their experiences in the street. A lot of the rap records, not all, but they were talking about the experiences that they had on the streets. And so we can relate, we can identify with it. And then in the 90s, as you said, it just took off.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, today is watered down, but it just took off. And that again was a gratifying experience.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, moving into the period of 1995. So some will say, it was a lot going on that year. I mean, it was a year for music, movies, and of course, one of the highlights was the Million Man March. So during that time of the Million Man March, can you tell us what was it like trying to rally the people, to the brothers to go, and what was that experience like, kind of being in the trenches and telling people about having a million men come to Washington, D.C.?
Wow. 95. I was in Augusta, Georgia. I was here in the southern region. And again, similar to Power at Last, the spirit or the momentum began to pick up. And at this particular time, unlike Power at Last, at this particular time, I'm in the ministry, as I am now student in the ministry. I'm a student. of the ministry and responsible for the city of Augusta, Georgia. I mean, I know in this situation where I was, just about every TV, radio station wanted to interview or have us say something. And we had to be extremely careful because as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, you can't phantom the depths of Satan. So we had to be extremely careful about what we said. I mean, even though we should be that way now, but as you can imagine, the momentum began to pick up. You're talking about 1 million men. Looking back at that, we pushed. It was something like this. We were hoping for the best, but we also expect the worst, meaning in terms of numbers. When we got out there on the mall, I know when I did, when we got out there on the mall, because the momentum was just high. I mean, it just, everybody, even white folks, the momentum was just high. When we got out there on the mall and seeing that many people, not that, I per se had some type of machine that can count the numbers, because I never seen 1 million men before, and particularly Black men at that. But once again, the spirit was just so high. The God, Allah, Master Father Muhammad, how he blessed the minister and blessed us to, get that many men, calling from 1 million and getting nearly or possibly 2 million men, and seeing that and not one incident. I mean, you can't get 50 of us together.
Right.
And not have an incident, but coming from different parts of the state and probably the world, it was, unlike anything that I have ever read of historically, and definitely unlike anything that I have ever experienced.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And I got a couple more questions before I turn it over to Sister Louita, because she has some questions for you. We have a question in the chat, so I don't want to make sure we get our audience questions from Sister Cynthia. She says, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Harold. We may have some that are still questioning God is a man. What did you do to come to grips with Allah came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad?
It's a good question. Let's get the lecture hall ready. No. No. Well, my reality, my sister, thank you for the question. My reality was this. Even being a registered member in the Nation of Islam, it took me a long time, and I have to build on this daily to this very day, the concept of God coming in the person of a man. But what I began to realize and what helped me is, and particularly when, you see people praying and praying and praying, but they don't get up and do something about it. As it says in the Quran, Allah never changes the condition of a people until they change it themselves. And so marinating over scriptures like that, or God made man in his likeness and his image, and just listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and how he taught and how he explained it, I just come to the realization, as they said, we searched for that mystery God for 379 years, and we come to the conclusion that there ain't no mystery God. And I've came to the conclusion, my sister, was that if I didn't get up and do something for myself, the God within. Now, do I think I'm the superior? No, I didn't. No. Don't think that. Never did think that. But I begin to see how God began to act in and through people. And I begin to realize that there's just no mystery God. If things didn't get done by man, it wasn't going to happen. So then I realized that God is a man.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes through, as the Quran says, he reveals himself through whomever he pleases. And then even in the Christian church, calling them him, he, using the pronoun, the personal pronoun, I.
Mm-hmm.
I just begin to realize things don't get done. We give all praises, and it is due to Allah. It just doesn't happen haphazardly or by osmosis. It happens through men and women like you and I. And that's at the point, I realize that, yeah, God is a man. Yeah. No spook, no spirit, nah.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question that was sent to me, so I'll ask that before I go to Sister Louita. It says, Assalamu alaikum. If you're new in the Nation of Islam or thinking about joining the Nation of Islam and you feel like you have no purpose coming from the world that you are currently in, when you join the Nation of Islam and the FOY, how do you try to build skill and figure out your purpose without assuming another identity? I'm not sure what that means, but I guess it meaning like just doing what everybody else is doing and creating your own lane, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that the Nation of Islam offers, I'll answer this like in this manner. I think one of the things that the Nation of Islam offer is, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who's our teacher, has said to us as students, finding, he said, the true happiness, real happiness is finding your purpose in life and living it out.
Mm.
God doesn't create anything without purpose.
That's right.
And why? And then when it has no more purpose, it's gone. But nothing that he creates doesn't have a purpose. And so the thing that we see today, I saw this saying one time, I don't know who it was by, but they said the richest place on earth is in the graveyard. And why? Because we don't, in our lifetime, unfortunately, we don't really realize our purpose in life, so we never live it out.
Mm.
We struggle, we don't get the opportunity to live it out, and we just don't realize our purpose in life. I'm still trying to discover my purpose in life. Is it to be minister or anything like that? No, I think is as it's written, to be to raise us to the level of being a God. Remember, we didn't come to the Nation of Islam to be minister, captain, secretary. No, we came to be God.
Mm-hmm.
Not the superior, but we came to be God. That is our purpose in life. And I think oftentimes we get it kind of confused or mixed up. But, we have gifts and talents. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has said to us that there's something that each and every one of us can do that no one else can do better than us. Now, that's God.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
So when you come to the Nation of Islam, beloved, you're coming to not just offer your gifts and talents, but your gifts and talents in that is your purpose in life. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we used to be able to communicate without what we're using today, the telephone, just through our minds. They call it, the white folks call it telepathy. I'm sure we called it something else, but we can do that. We were able to send a message and receive messages, he teaches us, without the use of this, telephone and what have you. So, when you discover your purpose in life and you live it out, then you're, in my opinion, truly happy.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful response. Thank you for that. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Sister Lowita, who has some questions for you that she would like to
Yes,
ask.
ma'am.
Lowita,
Thank you for
I'll turn
yours.
it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Harold.
Wa alaikum salam, sister.
So I have a question. Sister Janine, you kind of got this started with your introduction, and you said something about staying power. Brother Harold, what gives you or gave you staying power, being in the nation as long as you have? And we know that we're not void of trials and tribulations. So what gives you or just gave you staying power?
Love.
Mm. Mm.
That's it.
Please
Some of
expound.
us, I mean, some of us think that the grass is greener on the other side. But what the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad offers as taught by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, it gives you a high, or me personally, experience a high that I had never experienced before. Now, I'm not telling you I tried every drug and out there, but I ain't no angel either. I was no angel either.
Right.
So, no, and it was the love of the brotherhood. And though it's not perfect, it was there. And you begin to realize that when God himself chose you, he chose you.
Mm.
You know, no, yeah, he didn't make a mistake. You know, and this is what I began to realize. So when those trials hit me, even though I read it in the Quran, we have to study, right? When those trials hit you, it helps the love. You just realize when you take stock or inventory of just your life, and you realize that it's much better on the inside than it is on the outside. And you realize that you and we have a direct connection to God. We rely on so many other people, and we don't rely on it's as though, look, the minister said this, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, he said, yeah, I can pray for you, but the God is waiting to hear on you. Now, he said, you have his number, get on the rung and call him up. And all too often, we're dialing the wrong number.
Wow. All praise is due to Allah.
Yes.
Can you still hear me okay? I think his
I can
screen
hear.
kind of froze up. Okay, you did. Okay. So my other question, I'm quite curious, considering growing up in the nation myself. So there were some things that I didn't have to unlearn, like eating pork and so forth and so on. So how did you, Brother Harold, handle having to give up so much of what you were used to and being in the world and giving up the pork and the drinking or whatever else you had to sacrifice to become a better, just to be a Muslim and a good Muslim at that? So how did you handle that? How did you respond to that when you first heard I can't have a ham sandwich, Thanksgiving, that we have this or that and other pork items? How did you deal with that in giving up and making those sacrifices?
There's a lot of sacrifices. Had to give up chasing women too. I had my little girlfriends in school, so that was one of the things. But since you mentioned the food, I'll say it like this. All of us, in a sense, are, in my opinion, warriors. I can't remember the attribute of Allah that links us to that. And being a warrior, it was a challenge. It was a challenge I wanted to take. As I mentioned to our sister earlier, coming in and seeing all these brothers, many of them older than me at that particular time, and they looking younger than me. I was like, wow, how did you do that? And they like, bro, I only eat one meal a day and I fast. What? I don't eat this, and granted, some of us still eat chicken, fish, whatever, but I don't eat this. But the number one thing, as I mentioned to my sister, the way to minister laid out pork. And he didn't just say, you know, like we hear in church, don't eat it, God going to get you. He went into the reason. He allowed and made us identify with, look, is a trachana worm in it. You know, is worms in this, is that. And he showed us. So it wasn't just God say, don't do this, and just, we don't do it. No, he showed us the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And then then if we're studious and study what he says, as students, as we still are, then we realize and we understand, oh, wow. Then I began to read that and I, you know, oh, no, I don't want the pork. Nah, you know, I didn't have to throw no Coca-Cola or Pepsi, whatever it is, acid on it to see worms crawling up out of it. He talked about it so bad, I was like, nope.
Yes.
No.
All praises due to Allah. I think I thought I had one more question about you, not just the physical food. How did you adjust to cleaning up your lifestyle with the things that you take in? Everybody has a different vice or a different distraction that can sometimes become a disruption in their lives with what you like to watch on TV, what you take in, certain type of music. Did you ever get into this new school music, or did you stick with old school and more clean music? Because sometimes the enemy gets you with a good beat and you find yourself, you know, sucked in. So I guess my question is, through this journey of striving to be a Muslim, we don't always make it every day. So if you fell down, how did you pick yourself back up in certain areas of your life?
Again, let me just say this. Yeah, you're talking about getting you with the music. Boy, I ain't gonna lie. I like to hear that. Not now, but I love to hear that 50 Cent in the club. That had some rhythm on it. Those words wasn't, but the rhythm, the music, the beat. But sister, it's the love of the brotherhood and the love of the teachings. See, I've always believed, pardon me, I apologize. No, I believe that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan loved us. I really believe that. That's my belief. I believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put in him that love for us, and I believe that Master Par Muhammad put it in the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In particular, when he said, come on, Elijah, let's go. As we told the story, you may have heard it. He said, you know, they're not going to listen to us. Come on, let's go. And we'll just get rid of them, talking about our people. And the messenger told him, according to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, he said, well, if you kill them, you have to kill me right along with them. And the minister went into that and said he was testing the love. And they were at a point in time, the messenger was getting on the minister, knowing that he was from the Caribbean. He just was beating him up. And the minister said, he's sitting at the table. He know I'm from the Caribbean. Why is he beating him up? But again, he's testing him. He's depositing in him love. Well, that type of love, that, you know, they say God is love, you know. That type of love helped pick myself up, because all of us, you know, we have missteps. We make mistakes. And even after knowledge has come to us, and it's the mercy of God. It's the mercy of God. You know, this is, you know, the nation is, how they said, you know, is the place that give you, you know, second chances and whatnot. So what picked me up, sister, I believe was the love of God. And again, God comes through men and women. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm down, you know, I can call on my brother or my sister or God will set circumstances up before me that I didn't even know or anticipated. And it shows me his love. And I said, wow, I thought I was out. But the God showed me something to make me to know and or believe that he's still with me. So regardless of how bad or how hard times get, the God shows me something. If I do something, if I go off and I do something that I know is wrong and continuously get away with it and not checked, then that's at the point in time that I'm kind of scared, because I'm like, well, he don't care for me. You know, it's like your parents. Your parents love you, and so they will spank you if you do something wrong. If they don't care nothing about you, nothing happens. Right? I don't care. You know, and so when a brother or sister, when I'm doing something and God puts a brother or sister or certain circumstances in my way to mess it up, you know, I might want to go to the bar, get a drink or something like that. Ain't nobody gonna know, ain't nobody there but me and God, right? But I might go to the store and be $1 short and or whatever. The store might be closed or whatever. It shows me that God still have love for me. And it makes me even that more eager to go out there and do the first work.
All praises are due to Allah. All praises are due to Allah. Thank you so much for taking the time for those questions. All praises due to Allah. I'm going to turn you over to Brother Jamal, and he'll ask some more questions as well. Brother Jamal.
Yes, man. Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I believe there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I would like to greet you in the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, sir. First, I would like to ask you questions from the chat that may have been missed. There's only I think like 2 questions. First, we have one from Daniel E. Muhammad, brother Daniel E. Muhammad. He said, "What lecture by the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan convinced you about the Savior Master Fard Muhammad?"
Wow. Woo. To be honest with you, my brother Daniel, there's so many lectures. I can't say that there was just one, because, you know, listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or in fact, indeed, listening to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, each time you listen to it, you hear something that you didn't hear. You understand something that you didn't initially understand. Oh, you know, I said that was a powerful lecture. Then I go back and I didn't even hear that. So it's not, I can't pin it on one particular one that persuaded me that God is a man. There's so many lectures out there that I've heard and listened to over the course of the years that I've been a registered member. Is to answer your question, quite frankly, is not one that I could pinpoint and say that was the one.
Yes, sir. Okay. Actually, I have a question following up from that question that can go into the next question, which is from Sister Juanita. So we always ask that like we always ask our guests, like, what are your favorite lectures, or what is the best lecture that has resonated with you? So I would like to know that, if you know.
There's not, to be honest with you, yeah, it does follow that particular question. To be perfectly honest with you, there's not one particular lecture that I could say is my favorite. I would be lying to you. I'm just being honest with you. Now, there's certain lectures that move me in certain ways. Like when he came out with How to Give Birth to a God. Oh my gosh. That was something. Then he started later on doing lectures relating to the study guide. I'll say this about How to Give Birth to a God, because it was a lot. He said to us at that particular time that if Allah had taken him at that point in time, he would have been satisfied with what he had given us and how to give birth to a God. And so I pinpoint that lecture, not to say it's my favorite, but it does move me in such way, that it weighs heavy on me.
Yes, sir. That's actually one of my that's actually one of the lectures I look at also. And and actually in the chat it also says Who is God lecture is a classic. That's also a great lecture to look at also. But all the lectures the minister has and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has are all great lectures to look at. And we had the second question before I start asking my original questions is Sister Juanita asked, what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Join the nation. I mean, I know what you're saying, my sister. Wow. Once again, it lines up with the lectures that I've heard. It's not, I can't say one particular one that was the best. Even as we, today, somebody could give me something tonight. One of the things I'll say it like this. One of the things that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was asked, does God still study? And he said, yes. I believe it's at the table talks. He said, yes. He said, because the universe is always producing something new. So he has to continuously study. And you'd be thinking like, God studies? So in terms of advice, I look at it like that. It's always something coming up new. It's always something, when we complete this, I will think back to something one of you have said, or even in a question, and I'll look at it because I try to see the God in it. And I said, that was some good advice. When I look at the question, and what Allah allows me to see in it. I can't say one, so I would have to say, and I'm not trying to dodge your question, but to be perfectly honest with you, it was to join the Nation of Islam. That's the best advice that I've got.
Yes, sir.
Or become a member. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Registered
Yes, sir.
member.
And that actually leads into my original question about you becoming a member in the Nation of Islam. I wanted to ask, what drew you into actually not even just becoming a member originally, just what drew you to come into mosque meetings, and how was the atmosphere and the energy, probably specifically for mosque number 7?
Ooh. At that time, mosque number 7 was saying we're the most militant mosque. At that time, Brother Khalid, may Allah be pleased with him, was on LA, and they was like, we're the West Cadet, we're the West Coast, we're the most militant. So there was a sort of like competition between New York and LA. Now, of course, New York, the ministers coming from there, but LA didn't back down. It was, again, the brotherhood, it was the militancy that I saw in the mosque, but it wasn't where we was trying to kill each other. It was the competition, as it says, it was righteous competition. And we would say, well, the minister come from here, we're the most militant. And may, Allah be pleased with them, Brother Abdul Kareem Muhammad, who was Linwood X at that time. I just took pride, man. It was the brotherhood. It was the love. The love wasn't perfect, but it was there. And I took that love with me. And that really accounts for my success in all these cities. I mean, the way they have me in the southern region, I'm about to settle down, go somewhere, but they would send me really to cities to get them up. But I took that love with me, so that's what kept me going. I mean, you could I couldn't miss a meeting because it was just love that attracted me. No false type love, no, this fallacy or whatever. No, it was real love. It was real love. For a brother to stand up, whether he was not telling the truth or not, but I believed him, man, I got your back. Person that I even know, somebody that's coming, I'm in New York, somebody that is coming from Chicago or New Jersey. No, this is a brotherhood. I never met you a day in my life, but if a fight go down, we got your back. If you hungry, I got you. Man, I had never seen nothing like that. So that's what kept me coming back, the teachings. And I wanted to learn more. I was hungry. I wanted to know more about Master Fard Muhammad. I wanted to know more about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I wanted to know more about the nation, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We had Sister Amina Rasul there. I mean, so many people up in there, she was the captain under Malcolm. I wanted to know more about Malcolm X. So it was just the love of that, the eagerness, the hungry. I was hungry. I was a young brother and I was real hungry.
Yes, sir. I always love hearing, members have their experience, especially back in the day, and I always hear the righteous competition, and I always hear the hard boiledness kind of, but it's all love, especially back then,
That's
with
right.
our members in the Nation of Islam. Yes, sir. And this is going to actually when you registered. So what do you remember? What do you remember most of official? What do you remember most about officially becoming a registered member of the Nation of Islam?
What do I remember most about becoming a registered member? I recall the day that I recited, and Brother Abdul Hafiz Muhammad was there. He wasn't the minister, but he was he was mentoring me. And he wanted to be there when I recited. Well, the captain at that time, Brother Xavier, who's here in Atlanta, actually, and another brother, Brother Nelson, but he, may Allah be pleased with him, he changed his name to Hakeem. He was a lieutenant. They told me, they said, look, you can wait. At that time, his name wasn't Hafiz, his name was Brother Kevin. He said, you can wait for him if you want, but you have to recite to us and we might not be ready. So you better do it right now. And so I had to make a decision because I love me some Brother Hafiz at that particular time. And I had to make a decision. This is one of the things that I remember. I had to make a decision on if I was going to recite, it was on a Sunday, if I was going to recite, if I was going to wait until Brother Hafiz became available. He was there on that day, but he was dealing with some type of business. Or was I going to recite when his captain said, you better do it? Well, I didn't wait. I had to jump in and recite right then and there. And as bad as I wanted my brother to be there to witness me recite, because he was walking me through processing, So as long as I have a sane mind, I'll always remember that.
Yes, sir.
And the
That
first
actually,
bean pie I ate too. The
the
first bean
first.
pie that I had ever eaten was given to me on probably my first call out, but it was by Brother Eric Torre Muhammad, who used to be, I think he still writes for the Final Call. And he of course took on the name Toure, or was given to him by Kwame Ture, but he gave me my first bean pie. I could never imagine in all the days of my life eating a pie made of beans. But that thing was good.
Yes, sir. You never go forget that first bean pie. Never go there. Nobody can imagine, oh, beans in a pie? That don't
Yeah, I
sound
couldn't.
too good. But nah,
That
hey, change your life. Yes, sir. It before we go into SID our station ID, I have one more question to ask you before we start asking you a little bit more questions. Um my last question before station ID is, how did working under Bus Student Assistant Supreme Captain Abdul Aziz Muhammad shape your understanding of leadership?
well, he had a brother named Brother Wayne. May Allah be pleased with him. Brother Wayne, I was closer to his brother than to him. And but what I got from Brother Assistant National Supreme, and I love this. He was always, he never, he was real. I was used to captains being a little more like, how can I say it? Verbally, verbally moving you like, okay, yeah, I was accustomed to that. And I mean, at that time, they were really strict. But he was real laid back. When he smiled, he would always he would when he got upset or something didn't go right or he wanted something done that didn't get done, he would smile, but you understood what that smile meant. It wasn't a regular I'm happy type smile. It was just I'm smiling, but I'm checking you at the same time. So his demeanor, I took that from him with me. Real smooth, never loud, nothing like that. Because I was accustomed to those type captains, but never loud, nothing like that. He was just real smooth. He was real smooth. He could walk up on you and you would never notice. And that even got me more interested into the martial arts. And then I took off and wanted to know who Musa Muhammad, and eventually met Musa, brother Musa, may Allah be pleased with him. Uh, uh, but yeah, his demeanor. I love the way he handled himself.
Yes, sir. That's a good response to how he's much of a leader and how it really shaped you as being a leader in the Nation of Islam and it just throughout life. Yes, sir. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. And now, family, we're going to move into our station ID. So you are tuning in to WHID FM. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure to send an email to WHID1919@gmail.com. Again, that's WHID1919@gmail.com. And next week, inshallah, this is our first episode of the new year of 2026. So we will be having our dear sister April Muhammad from Moss number 55 in Memphis, Tennessee next week on January 4th. Please be back to tune in to this special guest as it's going to be very power packed next week. And with that, we're going to have a special message of what we were just talking about earlier, bean pies. And before we get to more questions. So with that, we're going to start asking our brother Harold Muhammad with more questions. And to I have a couple more questions actually before we get to to Sister Janine if she has any more questions to ask. So my next question is actually, in around 1995, you were assigned to assist with the Augusta, Georgia study group. What was the experience like stepping into that role?
Well, it stepping into Augusta, Georgia, right?
Yeah.
It had for me personally, because my family come from that area. My grandmother and my grandfather came from Savannah, Georgia. She came from, but I never knew that the people that we had, they had all gone, died, whatever. So I didn't have that connection, except that I knew that they came from there, lived there at one point in time. It was something new. It was something that I looking back on that particular experience, I enjoyed it. Now, again, stepping in that role, one of the things, beloved, that we have and just comes about is there's always a challenge. There's always a challenge. You just can't get away from that. At that time, being much younger than I am now and understanding less than I did, I didn't anticipate the challenge. I was ready to jump because I was like, wow, this is a blessing of all sorts. My grandmother come from here. My people come from here. I had never been there before, never. And so we did extremely well. I didn't move there because economically, I would be traveling back and forth from Atlanta like crazy. And then when I tried to move there, it didn't work out because, again, and I would offer this to anybody that wants to be in that particular ministry and in ministry on that level, make sure you have your finances right, because you'll do more damage. Even though your intentions are to do good, you'll do more damage to yourself, to the believers there, because they can't afford you. They barely making it themselves, right? So going there, I didn't know what I just said to you. And so economically, it was very, very difficult. I had a lot of love there. You're going to have some challenges. There's no question about that. And I had the love there, but more so than anything else, it was economically. And I didn't understand that, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad tell us to do for self, that's what we should be striving to do. Because with that, we're free to go anywhere. We're free, if we so choose, to go anywhere we want. He says that, he said, or suffer the consequences. And at that point in time, I was not doing for self. I had to depend. Now think about this, beloved. Just drop this in this on this point right here. In the Quran, it says, I call you, the devil, Satan says, I call you and the God call you, but I have no authority over you except I call and you came. And this is an experience in Augusta. Well, when I didn't have that type of knowledge or understanding on how to build, and I'm relying on believers, and they're struggling, but I'm telling them to come to Islam, and I'm struggling, and I'm not following the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad program as taught by the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. That doesn't make sense to me. Now, it made sense to me back then to do it because I was so eager. I wanted to get out and just Brother Harold, go there. We need you to fill a hole, and I'm rushing to get there. And it wasn't good. Yes, we got people, no question about that. We grew. We really grew. We could have applied for Mars status at that particular time. We grew, but in the end, it did damage. So how can I tell people to come on, do for self, and I'm not doing for self? So when the devil calls me to clock in at 8 in the morning and Muhammad calls me, guess what? I got to go answer the devil's call because in my mind, I got to keep a roof over my head, food in my mouth, clothing on me. Doesn't make sense. If I'm making sense with what I'm saying.
Yes, sir. You're making a lot of sense. You said it yourself. Do for self. And is actually is like it doesn't give us it's kind of like you don't get an option if you have to keep working for someone else instead of doing for self
That's right.
because you have your survive. You're thinking to survive now. You're not. But
Right.
you could have been doing for self and actually had if you took the time out to do for self. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you're depending on someone else, and you're sitting there trying to teach them Islam, but you yourself, meaning me, that time, I'm not living it to the fullest.
Right.
I'm not living it to the fullest. So yeah.
Yes, sir. Right. Exactly. How you explained it perfectly and you answered my question perfectly. Yes, sir. Thank you. And my second to last question is I always ask people this type of question is how do you want your work not even just in the Nation of Islam, how do you want your work just in period in life to be remembered through people or throughout the world?
Well, sound like one of those questions. How do you want to be remembered when you die? But anyway, no. No, brother. I want people, whoever comes across, whatever, I don't know how many, maybe one or two, I don't know. But, that, it's a road. And on that road, someone passed me the baton and now I'm passing it to you, but I was happy. I'm thankful to Allah to fill in that link. That's how I want them to see me. He wasn't perfect, but he was happy. He took the baton from brother or sister so-and-so. He filled in, and now he's passing the baton on to someone else. And I want to be remembered also, and as Sister Louita can testify to this, but those who know me, I love working with the youth. I know at one point in time, literally, as they say, older men for war, you older people for war, but the younger ones are for counsel. And just to be able to counsel someone to take us up to another level in obtaining our freedom. Oh, yeah. For me, that's a good thing. For me, that's a good thing. He took it, he filled this, but he did what he needed to do, and was able to pass the baton on, and just to sit there and watch and say, wow, yeah.
Oh, actually, that was going to be my next question. So dealing with the youth, actually. So is what advice do you give the youth, trying to be leaders in the future and trying to actually grow up to be better people of themselves and actually carry our community because we are like the next generation of people.
Absolutely. Number one, establish your connection with the God. Don't depend on anyone else. You and I, the youth, you got a direct connection with God. Don't look at it as I'm a mistake. I got here because I'm a mistake. No, you were chosen by God. If the person in the mosque, the lieutenant, whoever has a problem with you, that don't mean that the God got a problem with you. Maybe he's just putting that person there to sharpen you. So establish your connection with the God. Everything is real, right? The mistakes that I made, like you asked me about Augusta, one of the things that I would do, being over, I don't even like to say over, assisting with the city or, Islam. We need to graduate people. This is the youth now that's coming in. The youth, they're going to be, they're the ones that's going to take us to the next level. And a lot of the opportunities that I didn't get, because in some sense, people are, I guess, afraid or threatened or whatever the case might be. I'm thankful to Allah that he allowed me to recognize it so that I can be a better, not the best, but a better example and see those particular holes that I begin to see coming up. I mean, it was very, 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 very difficult to crack to be a squad leader in New York. You had to be on it. I mean, really on it. And today, it appears to be much easier to become an officer, a student officer in our mosque and study group. So the youth, we have to, number one, establish a connection with the God through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We, as the youth, what I would love to do is broaden, because many of us, beloved, we stay in the city. I don't know if you're in Virginia or whatever. I'm in Georgia, whatever, New York, whatever. But the minister, when he went to Ghana and had, I believe it was it Savior's Day or Holy Day of Atonement, one of the two, in Ghana, he said, we don't get out. We don't get out of our cities. Many of us, I realize and recognize the travel ban is on, but the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us, and the minister has too, make sure you get your passports. So with our youth, we need to put them, send them to Africa, send them to Asia, send them so their mind can expand. When you're in a different environment, you take in different things. Broaden, as the Quran says, Moses said, loose the knot from my tongue and expand my breast. Broaden their thinking. Because these are the people that's going to take us up another level. And if you dumb them down, you hurting yourself, including the work that you did, or I did, not you per se, but that we did that came before you. We're damaging that work. So expand, get them out there, support them, counsel them. And if you say the right word in the right spirit, because you can't just come, you can say right words, but not have the right spirit, and they're not going to hear you. But if you come in the right spirit, and as best you can, try to represent the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, then we have a better chance of getting up out of this hell and establishing and doing something for ourselves. But I can't tell a youth, like I said to you just a moment or so ago, I can't tell them to come into the Nation of Islam and I'm working for the white man and I'm sitting up there telling them to do. They're not hearing that. They seen that with their parents. They're not hearing that. That they looking for a new reality. What am I calling you to? Yes, the teaching sound, because it is right and exact. But if I'm not applying it, then the youth sees the hypocrisy. And they like the teachings, but they're turned away from us. So to the youth, establish your direct connection with the God. Work on that. And observe the mistakes that we've made so that you can do better.
Yes, sir. That was one of the most perfect responses about the youth
All praise
I've
to you
heard.
for Allah.
Yes, yes, sir. Especially about being maybe a hypocrite, because the youth really don't care now in this day and age about what you say. It's
They're
really
not
what you
listening.
do. So yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Thank you for that. And I thank you for answering my questions, and I thank you for answering all of us on WHID's
Thank you for having me.
platform and being our guest today. And I would like to pass it on to Sister Janine, that she will ask you for closing comments and she will go into announcements. So, Sister Janine.
Thank you, Brother Jamal and Brother Harold. We definitely thank you for being on and just sharing your stories with us. We get a joy each and every time we hear different believers' stories and backgrounds, and it just shows you how vast our beautiful nation is. So we appreciate. Any closing?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any closing comments you have for our audience before we go?
This is the first time that I've and I'll try to get in as frequent as I can, just to be a listener, not to, no. I just want to listen because I like learning. I like listening to the youth. I like listening to our sisters because of my perspective, or so I just pray to Allah that He blesses the program. And it was something that I said that could help somebody. I really, really, really pray to the God that it, could help someone. And I want to thank each and every one of you for having me on. And I pray that I'm pleasing in the eyesight of Allah, His Christ, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and in your eyesight also.
Yes, sir. All praise.
Thank you.
That's sir. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And for our audience members, we thank you for tuning in each and every week and just tuning in to our show. And if you love what you heard today, and I'm sure you have, you're invited to study with the Nation of Islam to learn the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by his chief helper, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, by going to www.noi.org/go study. You can also go to NOY.org to see the weekly webcast we have on Sundays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also get updates about Savior's Day on there as well. Final Call Radio, download it on all your devices. Take it with you on the go. Whether you're going to work, going to school, or just running some errands, there's no better way to go about your day than to have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in your ear 24/7, speaking positive words and wisdom in your ear as you go about your day. Speaking of Final Call, the Final Call newspaper, you see the cover on the screen, Global Conflict and Bloodshed. There's a reason why we call the Final Call newspaper the #1 minister in our nation, because the Final Call goes all over the world. Support Black media. If you want to know what's really going on in the truth, that's the best place you can go to get your news, family. It's going to Final Call. You can go get a digital subscription at finalcall.com. Also, don't forget about our brothers and sisters that are behind bars, because as we know, they can lock them up physically, but they cannot lock up their mind. And one of our last comments, do you want a book that greatly empowers your child and showcases their self-worth? Look no further than I Never Knew I'm All That, Book 1. This book affirms our children's needs. It gives our children a good book to listen to as they go about our day. None of those fairy tales and things that aren't true for our children, especially around this time. Instead of feeding our children falsehood with these holidays, feed them the truth and get them this book, I Never Knew I'm All That, Book 1, written by our host, Brother Donald Muhammad, illustrations by Sister Amina Lay, and you can get that book on Amazon.com. Last but not least, if you are in the Richmond area and you want to join us, come hear the reality of God, delivered by the local representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Richmond, Virginia, Student Minister Tracy Muhammad. You can visit them at 801 Prince Hall Drive in Richmond, Virginia, 23224. And here in Baltimore, if you're in the Baltimore area, you're welcome to visit us at at 2801 North Dukeland Street, Baltimore, Maryland, which is Connections High School. You're welcome to listen to our local representative, our brother Imam Abdul Salam Muhammad. So with that, family, we're going to have our weekly segment, our beautiful segment by Sister Louita, which is Eat Well, Be Well. So Sister Louita, I will turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of WHID-FM. We are always excited to bring you our newest segment titled Eat Well, Be Well. We'll share tips and inspiration for healthier living. We humbly pray that our effort blesses you all with tremendous health and wellness on behalf of WHID-FM. I will be reading from Book 2, page 151 of How to Eat to Live by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Chapter 44, You Cannot Replace the Stomach. We must remember that if we are to live, it depends on what we eat and drink. And God has taught us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, how to eat to live. 1 meal a day and eat the proper food. Of course, if you are sick, you are not required to do this, eating 1 meal a day, because the illness takes away energy that we should fight the sickness. We should have to fight the sickness. 1 meal a day, eating the proper food, will give us the right to live. We cannot expect to live if we don't try doing the thing that God advises us to do to live. We must remember Allah comes with light and life to add more days to our life. And the only way we can enjoy longer life, we have to obey the teaching of how to live. It made me look up the word obey. The definition means to follow the commands or guidance of someone. Well, it's just not someone, it's God who came in the person of a man. One of the synonyms to obey is bow to. So if you go back and read that last sentence, and the only way we can enjoy longer life, we have to obey, bow to the teaching of how to live. It made me look at chapter 8 of the Holy Quran, Voluntary Gifts, section 3, ayat 20, verse 20, the way to success. O you who believe, obey Allah, bow to Allah and his messenger, and turn not away from him while you hear. We here on WHID-FM are not coming before you of ourselves. We're offering you the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who met with God in the person of a man to give us direction and guidance on how to eat to live. We are very familiar with how to eat to die, but let's eat to live. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for listening. I turn it back over to you, Brother Jamal, to close us out.
Thank you, Sister Louita. And now we will close out WHID-FM with prayer. Attention prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Thank you for joining WHID-FM family.
This house is dedicated to knowledge and to the spreading of knowledge. Elijah Muhammad inspired new thought, new mind, new way of civilization among black people. But he wanted a house from which a light could be lifted up to give guidance to all who would be guided as this world begins to close down. This National Center for the Re-Education and Retraining of the Black Man and Woman but for the totality of the human family of our planet. I named this mosque after the only woman that the Quran names a chapter after, the mother of Jesus, Maryam. All human beings need to be re-educated. That is the purpose of the National Center.